was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show here in the Fishbowl. As you can see, I am Skyping in from my house. I am on COVID lockdown. Not that I got the COVID, but I am still waiting my test. I want to welcome everybody here to Do Not Give Up. Welcoming Sam Horowitz, my co-host, and our special co-host who's filling in for me today, Charles Hefe Clark. What's up, guys?
Hey, John. How's it going?
Hey, John.
Not too bad. I can't see you guys. It's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. We can see you.
Oh, that's all that matters, right?
I guess. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to watch you guys up on my phone. There we go.
There we go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So, just to give everybody a real quick rundown, man, I am feeling fine. I am not sick at all. But I was exposed to a couple other people over the last week or two that have tested positive for COVID. So to be socially responsible, I felt I shouldn't come into the studio until I get either a negative or a positive result back. Hopefully I'll get those back in the next couple of days. I went through one of those drive-through Burger King things, and they tell you to swab the inside of your mouth and
give you a Happy Meal.
I got my little COVID Happy Meal, but I got to say, I went to, just to give you a quick thing, I went to NRH2O. It's the water park down here where they got the testing site. And I got to just give kudos to everybody who's working at that site over there, because there were over 150 cars in front of me. And I'll tell you, I didn't wait more than 30 minutes to get through the line. They were the most patient people. They really did a great job filtering people through. They were very helpful with signing on and getting an appointment. So kudos to those guys that are working the NRH2O COVID drive-through.
Hey, I got a question.
They did a nice job.
John.
Yeah.
So they did a mouth swab, right?
Well, what they do is they hand you this, you know those old people picker-upper things? Yeah. Well, they hand a little bag to you. I felt like I was buying crack, They hand this bag to you filled with a test tube and a swab and a whole bit.
But it's a mouth swab, right?
Yeah, and then they just you go up to the next guy, and he just says, "Hey, listen, open up your bag, pull," and he gives you the directions real quick. Swab the right side, the left side, up, down, and then he says, "Just break it off into the test tube, shake the test tube, put it in the bag, done."
That's not fair.
It was real simple.
That's not fair.
See,
I got my brain stabbed.
I was gonna say you got your brain stabbed. Yeah, you got off easy, man.
Yeah, why do you have to go all the way into your brain to find COVID? It's in your mouth. If we're coughing this stuff out, it's not coming from our brain. It's coming from our lungs. So
Well,
it's in your mouth. It's not in your brain.
Yeah.
Don't poke my brain.
I thought.
I would think that this would be like a mail order by now, based upon you waiting 30 minutes. Hey, mail order, it comes to your house, swab. Oh, kind of like what I tested my dog with the DNA test.
Yeah.
And then you mail it back. I mean, it takes a little bit more than 48 hours, but hey, you know who else deserves a big kudos? Our first responders here in the Bedford, Hearst, Arlington area. We had some wild weather come through last night.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
had an appointment before coming over to the studio, and people were sharing pictures. And there are still cars trapped in. There was a drive-through and a tornado touchdown, and the cars are still there. The people are out. But a big shout out to all the first responders who, they answer the call. They're out and about with tornadoes touching down all over the place, making sure to get the people extricated from accidents. Lots of roads still closed, clearing debris. So folks, please watch out for our first responders out there and our road crews. So we still have road crews out there for the cleanup. And
And that came on pretty fast.
Yeah,
That came on without
Yeah.
warning.
Yeah.
Really.
yeah, it really did, because I didn't see anything popping up in your area. For those of you guys who don't know, John and I live about almost an hour, at least 45 minutes apart. And we didn't have anything like that out in Rockwall, not even close. And so driving in here, I was like, why is this road closed? What is it with this detour? Why is the traffic so slow? And come to find out there was some scary stuff over here last night. So, I don't know what it is, reminiscent of the tornado that touched down in my area over day after Christmas couple years back, and now we've got tornadoes that came down last night just before Thanksgiving, and as if things resources were not spread thin enough. John, you have been doing something that has been so meaningful, and not only for me personally, but a lot of people, including some folks that I met today that follow you and follow me on Facebook, that have said your posts about today is not the day to give up has really impacted them. This time of year, it's not happy for everybody. It's can be a struggle. It brings back memories if you've suffered traumas during this time. And so why don't we kind of dive into that and talk about that a little bit, because we, and I do say collectively we, because Chief sitting across from me here, he is in the inner circle. Not only has he been through his own stuff, John, like you and I have, it's a family that we're creating. It's a network that we're creating, and folks need to know that they are not alone in this. I just got off doing it's pre-recorded. It will be released in December, a workshop for one of our partners, Frontline Crisis Response Solutions. Shout out to Shahidra and Kathy for putting this together, this education, how to deal with the stress in the midst of a pandemic and beyond. And one of also First Responder Fridays with Conrad Weaver. Hey, Conrad, shout out to you. We are cut, John, you say it, we're cut from a different cloth. All right.
Right.
And you see the shirts, blessed are the peacemakers. And it's been a very interesting, I get very introspective around this time. I'm paying a lot more attention to my emotions, being very curious as to, why this is coming up or why I feel this way. Sam, why are you so mad? That's one I can ask almost every day. But I've been on this journey. It's a 12-part podcast. For those of you who do not know Dr. Jordan Peterson, he's a huge, huge friend of law enforcement community. He resides in Canada. But he's been on Jocko podcast. He's done a lot of different podcasts, Joe Rogan. And he said something the other day as part of this podcast that I grabbed a hold of it, and I have been putting it out there. The time for people to answer the call to be part of law enforcement, fire service, EMS, 911 dispatch, whatever first responder career you're gravitating to, we're not in a great time right now. We've got defunding the police, all over the country. We've got dispatchers that are literally hanging on by a thread because they're so overworked. And I want to give you guys that are listening a personal message. And like I said, this is, I'm not going to do it justice like Dr. Peterson does, but he basically said, and this goes back to the beginning of time, as in like the Bible, when humans were first on this earth. And what he was talking about was you had society, and it was very segmented. You had a section that were considered, high priests or people that in the know, if you will. And then you had a certain section, and they were the protectors. They were the ones that no matter what was going on, when the chaos reared its ugly head, when the demons came, the dragons, when they needed to be slayed, people answered the call. These certain people answered the call, and it can be traced back that far. Okay, so I want you guys listening to think about that. If you're a first responder, it is not an accident that you are in the career field that you were in. Call it divine providence, call it divine bloodline. I don't know. It still gives me chills as I'm talking about it. You are exactly in the place that you should be in. You were born onto this earth to do exactly what you're doing. And nowhere in any of the stories with these battles, again, going all the way back to biblical times, nowhere does it say it was easy. It always says it was hard. It always says there was another war that you had to answer to. It always said there was another town that you had to protect. But it was always you. And it was your ancestors after you. So it is what you came from. And I want you to take a little bit of solace in that. Now, you may be thinking, well, gee, Sam, what about you and Chief and John? You're retired. Yeah, that's the lineage. Because you got people that come, we serve, we hang up our badge, our gun, our whatever it is, and then we leave it to the next generation. And whether that next generation are our direct descendants, so our children, or maybe not, we're all related in a way that our hearts, our being is called to serve.
Sam, if I don't want to interrupt you, but you hit on such a fine point where with the lineage, you think about a thoroughbred horse. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You think about a thoroughbred horse that has a bloodline that dates back, centuries sometimes. We are the same way, and you bring it up that, warriors back in biblical times, they could be our ancestors. They could be part of our lineage that, we are cut from that cloth, and it's just in our souls, because who would be stupid enough to run a gunfire? Come on. Who is stupid enough to go running into a burning building? It takes a certain person to lay down your own life for the life of a stranger. And, there are people that will protect their families. There are people that will protect, their inner circle. But it, Chief knows it, that if we're in a parking lot of a CVS and we see something going on, we're ready to lay down our life for whose life's being threatened. We're ready to give up our lives for somebody else. Now, call it crazy, call it insane, but it's, I call it, like you said, it's a calling. It's something that's in your blood. It's something that will never go away.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's something that never does go away. And so here we are, the three of us here tonight, and we have joined together to help those who serve. Okay, and it is about understanding that, hey, we have walked where you are, so you are absolutely not alone in this journey. And Chief, you and I talked about this, the complete mind screw that post-traumatic stress and the repeated exposures to trauma. Okay, great. Great, Sam. You tell me I'm not alone. Why do I feel so alone? That's the mind screw. That's what the PTS brain does. All the chemicals, all the hormone dumps, we're in fight or flight every single day. We don't know how to turn it off. And that's the confusing part. It's navigating those waters that when you hear you're not alone, yet you feel so alone and so isolated. We want you to know that we hear you, because you guys are responding to John's posts. So we hear you, we see you, because there's a picture attached to your post. And we ask you to find the courage. You're in the job that you are in because you possess the utmost courage that God has given you. Okay? Find the courage to talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be somebody at your job. It doesn't have to be somebody at your department. It can be your best friend. Maybe your best friend's not in law enforcement. If you've been in long enough, it probably is. But start a conversation, and it can be as easy as, hey, I'm having trouble sleeping, or God, I had a shit day yesterday. And I know Chief's here, he's nodding his head. Please chime in here and kind of drill down on what I'm talking about.
What I tell people all the time is, post-traumatic stress for a single trauma for people is horrible. And the way it affects them the rest of their life and can make life hell for them. Now, taking into consideration cumulative post-traumatic stress, which is what usually law enforcement, first responders, firefighters end up dealing with. It's accumulation. I saw a study the other day that said the average person will witness 2 to 3 traumatic events, in their lifetime, and your average police officer will witness 800 or more traumatic events in a 20-year career. So just imagine that's the level that you're dealing with after you've been in the business, whatever, fire, police, EMS, nurses, detention officers, dispatchers, everybody. That accumulation, it's what makes it so intense. And yeah, you got to let your wall down, which is what I had to do, and reach out and let people help you work it, because God knows I tried to work on it myself and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Didn't work. And it took me finally letting that wall down and realizing that it's just not something I can do on my own, and listening to a voice of reason, which happened to be another police officer friend of mine, that said, "Hey, stupid, this is what you're
That's a term of endearment, by the way. Yeah, stupid.
Yeah, that's what we talk to each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need help, and it was just kind of like a boom. This is what I'm dealing with. Maybe I do need help. And then I look back at all the things I've been doing, the horrible path I'd taken, and it was made the decision, and that's what I did was reaching out and talking to people. And so that's what you need to do is let people help you. It's not weakness. That's the problem with this. The stigma is, guys, especially, police officers are worse about it. If you ask for help or admit you're hurting, it's weak. Right. No, it's not weak. It's, warriors bleed. Warriors can get hurt. Anybody can get hurt. You're not impenetrable. And sometimes you've got to ask for the help.
But see, I agree with that point, and you hit on another good topic, where when you turn around, warriors bleed, right? Mm-hmm. So if I got shot out on a street, yeah, I would ask for help.
Yep.
Right? Because that's a visible wound.
Yep.
We fail to ask for help because the wound is not visible and
Exactly.
people don't understand it. You know, it's like when you see somebody in one of those friggin' remote control carts going into Walmart and you see that they, you know, hey, they look pretty young. They look, you know, they don't look like anything's wrong with them. But you know what? They may have an underlying condition that we don't see, so we judge.
Yeah.
And that's how we gotta smash that stigma. We gotta stop judging people on the non-visible wounds. On the wounds go deep. And like you said, just because you don't see blood doesn't mean that you ain't wounded bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I talked about this,
You know?
John. You brought up a great point on Monday during the recording, is that we people can see Chief has all his thin blue line stuff on. I have mine. John, you're behind.
I got mine on.
You got yours with the shit show thing. Just might be throwing people off.
I gotta take my H up. My H keeps falling.
Oh, okay. So it's the sit show. What?
Yeah, it's
Which
my,
H?
My sign's got a lisp.
There you go. There you go. So, we talk about this unbroken blue line, the thin blue line, this path that we are on throughout our career, and the term "I got your six," so I got your back. You just said it. If you're shot, if you go down, car wreck, whatever it is, somebody's always got your back. And we need to carry that forward in law enforcement while we're on the job, because it is a wound, even though it's not visible. Jeff Freeman made a great point, and Chief, you did right before we started the show, that people can see that you've gotten off the path. Okay, so actually what it is visible, it's just you have a blind spot to it. You know what I'm saying? So if other people are seeing it, maybe you're not seeing it, it still is visible. And what is it about, when we talk about, and I'm calling it mental wellness, what is, if we're not well, why does communication break down on that line? Why does everybody almost like step off that line, like, oh, he or she, just let them, they're dealing with stuff?
It's fear.
Why?
Sam, it's fear.
Well, elaborate on that. Why would your buddy be afraid to ask if you're okay?
It's a normal human reaction, because the education is not there. The knowledge is not there. So when someone is uneducated or doesn't know how to act, if they see somebody in a mental crisis, what they're going to do is they're going to be like, he's got problems, just leave him alone, let him deal with it. Once again, and I hate to keep bringing up Walmart, but it's just a great segue. If you walk through Walmart and you see a mom scolding her kid or yelling at her kid, most people will just sit and watch and look. They're not going to say that, hey, you shouldn't yell at your kid like that. You shouldn't curse at your kid. You're not going to interfere with a parenting issue. You're not going to interfere if a husband and wife are arguing. You're not going to go over and say, hey, you shouldn't call her that. You're not going to do that. It's just a natural it's a natural barrier that a lot of people have, that when it comes to mental stress, people walk away from it because they are not knowledgeable in it. They don't have the education to learn about what PTSD is. And I think we are bringing that forward. And I think we've come a long way, where now, even, back in the day, in our academy classes, we didn't have this. We didn't have go help somebody who's having a mental breakdown. It was suck it up. We all know that whole that whole past. But now you see some academies, some police departments are really forging forward and trying to make a difference and trying to bring to their office that it's okay not to be okay. They're really pushing the mental health. Maybe they're not all doing it in the correct ways, but they are bringing it to the surface, saying, hey, we do have an issue here, but not everybody knows how to handle it just in that correct manner. And we're, like I said, we are moving forward, and that's a huge step for the post-traumatic stress network, because we see it over and over and again. And now when you talk to somebody about post-traumatic stress, at least they know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, you go to any cop on the street and say, hey, you suffer from, no matter what you bring that up to them, they will tell you what it is, and they'll tell you that either they're fine or whatever. When we were in the academy, you talked about post-traumatic stress. We'd be like, oh, I wasn't in the military, you know, it's just, so now, at least now education's getting out there, and we're bringing it to the surface.
I want to add something onto what you mentioned, the fear, and why it's hard to I guess get people to get help and reach out. One of the things that I've experienced and I've found is when I've talked to friends or fellow officers that are still in the business, and I see I hear that they've been involved in something, or I see that maybe it's the time of year, something's catching up with them. They're having a bad day. You can tell sometimes by social media posts like mine. You can certainly tell when I'm having a bad day by watching my Facebook. But the problem is though, is like you reach out to them. They're like, no, I'm good. That's their first response. No, I'm good. And too often people will accept that response and then move on. He'd tell me, he'd let me know. No, that's not how it works. It's 9 times out of 10, they're going to try and maintain that wall of toughness to not appear weak. So they're not going to miss. And like I've had to do several times, I've almost had to be pushy about it, and I've almost, had to be a dick about it. Say, hey, no, you're not okay. You're struggling with something. I can see it. I can hear it. Damn it, you got to talk to me. Tell me what the hell's going on.
You know what? I'm going to jump right in on this, Chief. I'm going to jump on this because, to me, I mean, I agree, but you know what? Wrong approach for me. Because I know if you started pushing me like that, that would trigger me because I suffer from anger issues.
Oh, I do too, and but I'm talking about with people I know personally.
No,
I'm not going to take that approach.
I agree.
With somebody I don't know, because they can get angry with me, and I'll get angry right back. And we angry out in the backyard, and I can explain to them and show them physically what their problem is.
If you kept pushing, what we have to do is we have to educate people enough to be able to say, hey, look, just in our circle alone, if I turned around to and I'm gonna throw 12 under the bus. Brian Wilburn, I'll call him up in the morning and I'll say, hey, you doing all right? And he'll immediately open up to me because he feels comfortable. He'll be like, hey, no, bro, the monsters, visited me last night. I didn't sleep well. And we'll talk for 15 minutes. But he has that level of confidence in me, and I got all that trust that he can open up. Same with you, Chief. Me and you spoke the other day. You told me some things, and we discussed it a little bit. And that's what we have to get. That's what we have to get every law enforcement officer out there, every first responder out there, to be able to open up, to be able to say, you know what, I'm not going to say I'm fine. If I'm not feeling fine, I'm going to let you know. We got to build that trust. But you know what? When we start pushing the issue, we got to be careful we don't push somebody over the edge. Because I know if you, even a friend, if they kept pushing me, I know I would lose it. I would definitely lose it. I would feel like I'm being backed into a corner.
Oh, and that's interesting because I would be just the opposite. For me, I hid everything. I completely withdrew, and I really needed somebody to kind of get in my face. And luckily, that was my therapist who did it in a way where it didn't feel threatening. So that everybody's different, but I think the education and Tina is chiming in here. We must start at the academy level, teaching the new officers. Absolutely. I think we need to make this mental wellness and resiliency and courage and throw it all in a big bathtub, whatever word comes to mind, strength and durability. And we need to make that part of walking that thin blue line.
Do you know Tina? Do you know who she is?
I don't know who she is,
Tina's
but she's making great comments. So thank you, Tina.
She is actually with the Blue Wall Institute. She's a law enforcement psychologist.
Oh, okay.
A good friend of mine. She's out of Florida. She's just a plethora of information. She's a genius when it comes to the topic, and I've confided in her so many times, and she's picked up the phone for me late at night when I was struggling. Has always been there to talk to me. She's an amazing person. Yeah.
Well,
and
thank you, Tina.
Yes.
Chief just set the bar really high because he used the G word, genius. So,
I like the plethora you use.
yeah. How did you say it?
I don't.
Plethora?
Give me
Plethora?
big words give me a headache, but I try to use them every now and then.
That's good. I like that. So yeah.
I looked it up in the dictionary.
Hey, well,
you go.
no, Sam, I don't want to. I mean, we're rolling, and I really want to get into the do not give up. If you don't mind, if we can push forward into that.
No, today is not the day to give up, and I think
Today is not the day to give
everything
up.
that we're talking about goes to that. Is what you hear us talking about is that safety net, if you will, that no matter what, you build your strength. You know, you don't grow muscles overnight, right? Our brain is a muscle, whether it needs to be trained for the first time, retrained, call it whatever it is. So you've got to, number one, and a really good friend taught me this a long time ago, you got to get off your own damn back. Okay? You got to give yourself a break. You got to give yourself a little self-care and cut yourself some slack. And what I mean by that is being and recognizing at the same time that you are not okay. Okay? But it doesn't mean just hammering away and trying to push through and telling yourself, oh, I just need to get some sleep. I'll be fine tomorrow, because we all know what fine means, right? Yeah. Hey, Jeff Freeman, I know you're listening. So, yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about taking a couple minutes, an hour, really recognizing that you are not okay, and then making the commitment and having the courage to reach out and make it somewhat okay. I'm not talking overnight cure. You're building your resiliency every single day. And John's messages that he is putting out on Facebook, you know, whether it's through the Mad Radio page or whether you're friends with John directly, you got an incredible inspirational phrase saying, quote, and he always ends it, today is not the day to give up. If I gave up, I would have let go everything that I have learned since 2003 to put me in this seat, to be able to do and carry forth the journey that I was told to do, because as I was pulling the trigger on the gun that was to my head, and the big man upstairs said, hey, Sam, it's not your time, and then sending my dog to interrupt it a second time, if I had ignored that, I wouldn't be here. If Chief didn't listen and recognize the signs, he wouldn't be.
There's always here. Reasons to
and you had
quit.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you had, for me, when I listened to your story, and I'll let you do a little recap, my heart like breaks for what you went through, because you were subject to the ultimate betrayal by our brothers and sisters in blue. And if you guys missed the previous show, I'll let Chief explain what I mean.
It's the stigma. I don't hold any animosity towards them. They were basically working off at the time of what they knew, and the stigma of PTS. I was at the worst point in my life with PTS where I hadn't realized it, and I was struggling and making bad decisions and being stupid. And they were sent out to do a welfare check on me, and instead of doing a welfare check, because they knew of my background, they sent multiple units. Long story short, they'd ended up surrounding my house, wasn't there, found me at a bar down the street, and ended up surrounding the bar and calling me out, and in a nutshell, ended up breaking my wrist and fracturing my collarbone.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they thought, because of PTS, that it was going to turn into the OK Corral. Like they thought I was just going to go mad crazy and pull a gun and start shooting when in fact I had actually told them, I would cooperate 100% and I was unarmed. But you could hear in the officer's voice that was giving me the felony commands for the felony takedown. You could hear it. It was like he was expecting it to go south any minute. So they reacted to lack of training and lack of understanding at the time. This was 8 years ago, and luckily we're making strides and learning more, and law enforcement officers and administrators are getting educated more, and they're understanding it, and the fact that just because somebody has PTS doesn't mean they're going to pull out a gun and start shooting or be violent. Like I've said, 90% of the time they're going to cry on your shoulder. They're going to break down. They're not going to be violent, but that's all part of, like John says, and the whole idea of this thing is reducing the stigma.
Right.
And, increasing education and awareness and getting help for those out there that haven't got it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And for John, he may be back with us by audio.
I'm trying to Skype right back in.
I heard the dogs, so that's a trigger for John. The dogs just wanted to chime in, but for John, 10 years.
Am I back in?
Yeah, is he back in? Okay, yeah, you're back on. So
Yeah.
John, for you, it was 10 years before you got a clear understanding as to what was going on, why so many TVs, computer screens, walls had physical damage to them.
Yeah, and you know what? For those 10 years, everybody around me saw it. Everybody saw me go down that rabbit hole. Everybody saw the self-destruction. But no one knew how to approach. No one knew how to. They were like, and they were like, you're being a dick, or they would just shy away. It was never or they were saying it and I didn't see it, or I didn't hear it because I was such in a bad spot.
Yeah, but the whole thing is you didn't give up. I mean, eventually what people were saying got through to you. You tried to change. You tried to make tomorrow better. And so today is not the day to give up. What we do, what the three of us do now, I would say is it can be stress inducing, different kinds of stress. And it can be exhausting. It can be tough. And we are a reminder, to ourselves, just like those posts every day, that, hey, we've got hopefully not an eternal road ahead of us, but we have got a challenging road ahead of us, a road that we are not going to give up on, because there are too many of us each year that continue to take their own lives.
Way too many.
Way too many. And we know that through our networks, we have the answers. It's just getting the first responders to feel that burn inside of them, to just reach out. And like I said, it's so much harder if you're in a department that doesn't support mental wellness. Okay, and it's apparent. Right. You'll know. You got to reach outside your department. There are so many resources there that are 100% confidential. I have met officers that have come up to me after I've spoken at whatever conference that have said, Sam, thank you. And yeah, I'm one of those folks my department doesn't support. I know that something was off because I did not feel that enthusiasm, that, ready to rock and roll, that charge that they would have every morning putting on that uniform. It wore off, and they found themselves in, like, walking in one of the officers told me it was like walking in a valley. He had been to a couple of peaks. He knew what it felt like, and he was just in this valley for the longest time. And he went outside his department, and he was getting the help he needs. And nobody, not even his partner, knew that he's getting help. And it was huge for him. It turned everything around. If you're looking for help, Just put it out there right now. Go to abadgeofhonor.com. Scroll down on the page. There is a big
Plethora.
list. Yeah, a plethora of our partners, and they are coast to coast. So wherever you're listening, we got you covered. You can click on any one of those logos, and it'll take you to the web page. And those web pages have contact numbers, or what's now come out are these live chats where you can talk to somebody immediately. Okay, so we want you to know that we totally understand that you've got a huge network, that we are right there with you, and today is absolutely not the day to give up.
And two, people need to understand that when you can't give up, but when you give up, you also got to consider what you're doing to the people around you. Too many times I've talked to widows of police officers that have committed suicide, the children of officers that have committed suicide. It's you're not ending, you're ending the pain and the struggle for yourself, but you're passing it on to your loved ones. At the beginning of my struggle with PTS, I was sticking a pistol in my mouth every night for almost, a year until I finally got help. But the one main thing that kept me from pulling that trigger was my kids. Right at that point where I was ready to put pressure on the trigger, maybe God was sending it to me, I don't know, but I would immediately start thinking about my kids. And that would end it for the night right there. I'd put the gun down every time. That's what stopped it for me. So people need to consider what you're leaving behind and what you're doing to those you leave behind, and how it affects them. Is another reason why it's important to never give up.
What you got to do is you got to make sure you don't get so down deep into that rabbit hole that you can't see what's around you. And that's the big thing is, it's like catching something early. You got to be able to catch it early, because once you get so deep into that rabbit hole, you know what? And you don't see your kids anymore. You don't see your family. You don't see your friends. You just see darkness all around you. So we as educators, we as public speakers, and as past first responders, we have to bring that knowledge to those saying, hey, we can't let you go down that deep. You can't go down that deep in that hole, because it's hard to get out when you get that deep.
Yes, it is.
And I'm going to share something with you, since we're being open, and I'm going to share, and maybe this will make somebody else share. But you know why I started that? Today is not the day to give up.
Tell us.
Because that day I was giving up.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And I said to myself, you know what? Today's not the day. And I said, you know what? I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that. Maybe it will push somebody to do the same thing. Because we all have battles, man. And it made me think, no matter how bad the battle is, no matter how bad the fight is, we'll get through it. We'll get through it. And you know what? There is always somebody there. There is always a phone to pick up, a text message to write, and there's always someone there, and you always got to think about that. And I don't think if I didn't have the network of friends that we are together with, and if I didn't have this knowledge, well, you know what? That day may have been that day. But because of all of you, because of the strength that you give, because of our mission that we provide for everybody, you know what? That day was not the day.
Wow. Thank you, John, for sharing.
I know
that hits.
That does hit. I mean, I don't want there to be dead air, but in a way, I kind of want there to be dead air.
But you know what? If we're going to be here and ask people to open up and spill their feelings and talk about their feelings, hey, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to spill those feelings. I'm going to tell you what I was feeling. but I'm also going to tell you what got me out of it. You know, it was the knowledge and the support, and it's the asking for help. And that's what got me out of it. And it's just, you know, we could talk about it, and, you know, if someone else sees that you were there at that point, and all of a sudden they say, how'd you pull yourself out of it? Well, I just thought to myself for a second, and that was it. And that's all anybody has to do. Think about something else for a split second. Put your mind into another, look at a tree, look at a leaf. Sam, you put those inspirational sunsets, you and Steve, every morning.
Yeah, sunrise. That would be sunrise.
The sunrise.
In the morning, sunrise, yeah.
Sunrise. But you know what? Those brighten up people's day. Those little things, man. It's those little things. Get away from the negativity. Get away from the politics. Get away from the news. Get away from all that stuff for a little bit, and just look at the positive stuff that's around you. You'd be surprised how much positivity is around you.
Amen.
The negativity, the little bit of negativity that's out there drowns out so much positivity in our lives that we can't even see it. We feel like we're overloaded. There's more positivity than negativity around us.
Absolutely.
Something
Absolutely. That sunrise is part of, you know, was part of my healing journey. That, you know, one of my off the couch strategies that I learned in therapy was to reconnect with things that are bigger and outside of ourselves. And my walks just got earlier and earlier and earlier, and watching the sunrise every morning. And I don't think I've missed a sunrise, maybe here and there because I was on an international flight or something. But I don't think I've missed a sunrise since probably end of 2003, 2004.
But you know what's good about your pictures, Sam?
What's that?
And if you really look at them, some of your sunrises are beautiful. The sun is over Lake Ray Hubbard. It's gorgeous, right? Mm-hmm. Some mornings it's raining and it's cloudy. You know what? That's just like life, man. But you know what? Those clouds clear up for the next day. And the next day you share a beautiful sunrise.
Yeah, the sun's always shining. That's how I look at it. And maybe, you know, Mom Nature has her own plans, but the sun always rises. You may not be able to see it, but it is absolutely there. And, you know, you can train what you've been talking about, this optimism. And it's something that I'm looking at the time. It's something that we're going to be talking about, John.
Yes.
And Chief, as part of our first responders workshop. So we have got a badge of honor with Jeff Freeman and John Edmondson. We will be in Garland, and this workshop is for current first responders. So you have to be on the job. So what you want to do is you want to go to abadgeofhonor.com. Scroll down to events. You'll see it says click here to register. You'll have the registration link. You can sign up. Now, we are limited to 30 spaces, and those spaces are starting to fill up. So if you are a first responder, if you're listening and you know a first responder, you need to tell them about this. Okay.
They have TCOL credits as well.
You get 8 hours of TCOL credit. It is all day. We are feeding you from morning till the afternoon. You will have food. We have incredible sponsors. We have incredible people that are going to share with you. One thing that I love about what I do with John and Jeff and John is we make you a promise. You will not walk out of that workshop without having resources in your hands and the people there to start a conversation with if you wish. But you will not leave there empty-handed. You will be able to, if you needed to get back into your vehicle. And if you needed to do a stress tactic that we go over, you will be able to utilize it and know how to do it. That's how effective, that is the feedback that we are getting every time we do these workshops. And thank you, Garland PD, and thank you, Perimeter Behavioral Health Hospital, for seeing the value in having to bring back these workshops and do it live. Yep. Zoom is great, but it does not take the place of being able to look at our first responders, look in their eyes, see the hurt, offer them the help right then and there, and see the relief on their faces as we go through, and John Edmondson from Healing Springs Ranch, as he goes through all of the exercises and really cool things. So
Preach it, sister, preach it.
yeah, so we're just 1 minute over. Hey, John and I want to thank you guys very much. Every week you tune in, you comment, you bring so much, you feed our passion for putting on this show. And because of COVID, the pandemic, things are still changing. So we are moving out of the fishbowl. Yes, our little fishy gills are jumping out of the fishbowl, and we will still be streaming live on our YouTube page and Facebook. But the day is the same, Wednesday night, but the time is different. It is 7 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Central Time. And we start next week. Until then, we want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, to all of the first responders out there. We are praying for you every day. We have your back. We've got your six. And today is not the day to give up. Chief, thank you for being in studio with me today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
All right.
With that, John, any?
God bless everybody. You know, once again, thank you, everybody, and keep up the good fight. And we will keep providing the information, the resources, and building our network. I'm glad to have Charles Hefe on board with us now. That's one more tool in our toolbox, and another set of eyes to help save a life. So keep making a difference.
Thanks, everybody.
God bless.